I heard this story yesterday on YouTube from a rabbi called Zusha Zilberstein. Zusha Zilberstein. And this Zusha Zilberstein, it's good. You should see some of his speeches. They're very good. There's also Rabbi Paltiel, also very, very positive, very good. Anyway, so he tells a story. Here's a story. So it goes like this. He and his brother went to Russia in like 1987, which this was before Gorbachev took down the Iron Curtain, right? Mikhail Gorbachev, he came and he dissolved communism, and he opened up the doors of Russia that anybody could go in and come out. Gorbachev. So, but before that, it was a pretty strict place to live in, and people were also jailed. It wasn't like the time of Stalin, but it was still very oppressive. And you had to really watch out. You know, the KGB was everywhere, and everyone was suspicious, suspected. And so, but he was invited there to go to the different Jewish places where there were mikvahs, I guess, and fix up mikvahs. His brother's a big expert in mikvahs. So they went. So they went there to this, and they were in the synagogue and they prayed. And it's still there was pretty much poverty over there was pretty prevalent over there. There wasn't that much the food and things like that, but nevertheless they had a little kiddush and shul, and somebody invited them to come to their house to eat. And they tried to resist and say no, but they insisted, please, please. So they came to this person's house. They went to person from the synagogue. And they were in the house, but they saw that there was tension in the house, tension. Like they were very, very worried about something. So this Zilberstein said, listen, we can go and eat in our room in the hotel. We brought food. No, stay, it's happy. They made a few l'chaims and they were happy and everything like that, but still they saw that there was this sort of atmosphere of like worry in the house. So they asked, what's going on? What's everybody worried about? And they said, oh, it's nothing. There was a knock on the door. They were there. They finished the prayers, whatever it was. There was a knock on the door, I don't know, 2 PM, 3 PM. And the couple said, go and hide in the side room, because I guess they didn't want to have guests or something. I don't exactly understand what the whole motivation was. But anyway, the woman looked and she said, oh, you can come. So they came out, and the daughter came in to the door and she hugged her mother and she said something in Russian to the mother. Okay, what was the story? The story is that their daughter learned in school, and in Russia she had to learn on Shabbat. So I guess they didn't mind so much if you kept your religion. They allowed, synagogues and things to run, but they didn't allow spreading out religion at all. And for sure, they didn't allow religion to interfere with government. So this girl had to go to school on Shabbat, but she didn't. Every Shabbat, she managed to get out of it. Her family went for a vacation. She didn't feel good. She lost the weight, whatever. She would make up some excuse, and somehow or other she got out every Shabbat. But the teacher announced that the final exams were going to be on Shabbat, and that everybody had to be there. And anyone who was not there would fail. And she was a very talented girl, and she was a prize student, and she wanted to do things. She wanted the degree to go. So she had to go to school for that. And she'd been there the whole year. It would wreck the whole year. So in order to get there on Shabbat, she had to walk 4 hours. I guess usually she would take a train or whatever, or a bus or whatever. In order to walk there, it took her 4 hours. And also she had to write. So what she did was she made some sort of a wound on her hand that even required stitches. And maybe she went to a Jewish doctor to do it anyway. So she went, so her hand was, she couldn't write with her hand. So she would tell someone the answer. She would took the test, I guess, separately with the teacher, and she would. So she was, but her parents were very worried because in order to get to the class on time to make the test, which I guess school opened up at the 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning, it meant that she had to start walking like at 2:30 in the morning in order to get there, because you had to get to school, you had to get arranged, you had to this. So it meant she had to walk through the streets of Moscow. I guess that's where they were at the time. They were in Moscow. She had to walk like 4 hours in the nighttime, which was not safe at all, especially a young girl. And she was alone. And so her parents were very worried. So she had to walk 4 hours. She went to the test, which was like 2 hours, and then she had to walk back. So it meant she had to start out like at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And then she would get there at 7, and it would be 9, and then she would have to walk back, those hours. So it ended up she would come back home at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So there it was this 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and she walked in the door. So she came into the door of the house as she hugged her mother, and she said, the first word she said was, "I didn't have to write. I didn't write." I guess she said the answers to somebody, and they wrote the answers down. You didn't have to write. So he pointed out, and it's a very, very valid point, that where did the Jews in Russia get this crazy self-sacrifice for Judaism? I mean, just crazy. She risked her life to walk in the nighttime through the streets of Moscow in order to take this test. Where did they get this? She could have just taken a bus, and it was self-sacrifice. She was sacrificing. No, she walked, and she made even a wound on her hand. So he says this all came from the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe defied in 1927 the whole entire government. So he opened up the door for self-sacrifice to all the Jews in Russia, so that it became accessible, self-sacrifice, to anyone who wanted it. Anyone who wanted self-sacrifice for Judaism. And that it really is the essence of Judaism. It's built on Abraham's self-sacrifice and Moses' self-sacrifice and self-sacrifice going against the whole entire world for 4,000 years. But up to now, it was only accessible to certain individuals, or in certain desperate situations that just burst forward, and the person said, "No, I am a Jew." But to think about it, 4 hours to walk in the darkness in Russian streets, right? Self-sacrifice, just not to go against Judaism, the door was opened up by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's today's story. And so it's also accessible to each and every one of us, that we can do a little bit more to make the world a better place. And that little bit is all that's necessary to bring Mashiach now. Have an easy fast, everyone. See you all tomorrow.
Have a meaningful fast.